Lord, take our eyes and see through them. Take our ears and hear through them. Take our lips and speak through them. Take our lips and fill them with your fire. A reflection from the first chapter of Genesis. In the beginning, God, which is to say that in the beginning there was only God and nothing else. Now, God is a poet, so when God looked out and saw a whole lot of nothing, God was moved to do something about it. And so God decided to create a work of art, a poem that would last. And so God spoke God's creation into existence. And when God speaks, the words themselves become the things that God speaks. So God said, light. And there was warm, nurturing daylight and soft, comforting nightlight. That was the poem God wrote on the first day of this earth that we now live on. The next day when God got up, God looked and saw, because there was light now, that there was water everywhere, not a dry place in sight. And so God spoke the word sky, and his word made it so. There was sky to separate the water in the clouds from the water on the earth. Sky that was mostly sapphire blue, and sometimes darkly rumbling and sometimes embellished with white. It was a poem about sky, and God thought that it was a good one. That was the second day. But there was still all this water on the earth, water everywhere. And so God said, earth and seas. And suddenly there was dry land with hills and mountains and deserts and valleys, wide sandy beaches and deep oceans, lakes and ponds, rivers and streams. Well, it was the most gorgeous poem, and so God used words like peaches and melons, pomegranates and tangerines, and this poem was getting lovelier all the time. Those were the words God added on the third day. On the fourth day, God thought that the sky paled in comparison to the poem he had made of the earth. And so God spoke words like stars and galaxies, comets and meteors. And soon the sky was ablaze with glorious big and little lights, lights that remind us of God's poetry every time we look up. Oh, God was happy. The words were really coming together now. On the fifth day, God looked at all the water on the earth, at the vast expanse of ocean, lifting and rolling. And God thought perhaps some animals to ride the waves might make it like a poem. And so God created smiling dolphins and all kinds of silvery fish, great whales and frolicking sea otters, jellyfish to float the ocean currents, and some things we still don't know what they are. And the sky above the earth was empty too. So God said, birds, and there were parrots and parakeets, canaries and cardinals, bluebirds and buntings, every color of bird you can imagine, because God is an artist too. And so God went to town painting birds of every color imaginable. God was really pleased with how this poem was turning out. On the sixth day, God looked and saw that where the seas were teeming with life, the land was still empty. And so God said animals. And there were all sorts of animals just right for living on all the different lands that we have. Anteaters and aardvarks, lions and llamas, horses and hyenas. And as the animals became part of the poem God was writing, God thought it was good. God thought it was awfully good. But there was still something missing. God had created this wonderful poem, and there was no one to hear it. And so God created people. And he recited the poem he had written all the beautiful words: sky, stars, trees, oceans, fish, birds, puppies. And God said, "Now I have you to recite my poem, and maybe you can add your own verses. That would be a very good thing." Amen.